What it really boils down to is for an officer to be in a high stress situation and maintain a calm, collected, rational decision-making mental capacity. This is what it all boils down to, because what we see when especially when watching these videos of these shootings that take place, justifiable or not, we all look at that and from the outside and it's very much like, man, why did they do that? Well, what we have to understand is that an officer, right, like we're sitting here talking right now and we're operating in our prefrontal cortex, right? The PFC is activated. We're making rational decisions. We're having a beautiful discussion. We're choosing not to interrupt each other, because when you interrupt someone, it's disrespectful. All this conscious thought that's happening right now to have a healthy interaction is also needed to have a healthy interaction with the suspect, right? And what happens is your PFC, your prefrontal cortex, must be activated in order for you to say, if I do this, this will happen. If I alleviate, let's say you have a joint lock on someone, you have a pain compliance hold, and you're putting pressure, you have to feel a certain degree of control and a certain degree of PFC activation has to be enabled there for you to say, if I put pressure, I'm going to get the compliance that I need right now. The problem is, one of the requirements to maintain PFC activation is an actual or a perceived sense of control. When you lose control, your amygdala, the lizard brain, hijacks the PFC. It's called an amygdala hijack. When that happens, your operation, all the functions of the PFC that are otherwise regulated in a healthy state, so if-then situations, rational decision making, the ability to throttle the energy input into a situation, to throttle your behavior, to say, no, I don't want to put too much force. That's all PFC. The minute your amygdala hijacks that, and now you're in lizard brain, you're fight, flight, or freeze. You have no throttle capacity. You have no if-then rationale in your brain, and you're thinking, if I do this, I'm going to lose my job. If I do this, I'm going to kill It's none of that goes through your mind. It's all about do not die and survive right now. Now, the wild part is, you want to see amygdala hijack? Take someone who doesn't know how to swim and just push them into a swimming pool.
That's me.
We got to try that.
And what's wild is, from the outside, someone who maybe knows how to swim, or someone who's just comfortable in a pool, maybe not even Michael Phelps. We're just talking someone who could barely tread water. My 4-year-old son just figured it out 2 weeks ago to stay his head above water. Take that person, push him in the pool, and there's no amygdala hijack. So he can be 4 years old. The point is, what does my son have that AJ's missing in the pool? A perceived sense of control. Now, what's crazy is perceived sense of control and actual control, that distinction isn't that important. Now, obviously, you would like it to be actual, but even if it's even if you think you're in control, and that's why I like to be honest, there are a lot of martial arts out there that are not very effective. We don't have to name them, but they're more for show, and they're more from the Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris era of prettiness versus effectiveness, right? So those martial arts, what they'll often do, someone will say, Henner, I want my son to sign up for this traditional art. Should he do it? Yes or no? And I go, well, listen, if there's no Gracie school nearby, then it's better than nothing, because at least your son's going to believe he can beat someone up. And the belief that you can handle yourself makes you talk like you can handle yourself. And then you have that officer presence, that calmness, that effectiveness. So that still plays in. But the point is, you have to have some sense of control. So what we try to do in GST with jiu-jitsu as its core, but modified specifically for law enforcement, this Gracie Survival Tactics program, all we care about doing, you guys, is creating we call them buoys of safety. In the ocean, when you're swimming and you're panicking, if you can grab a buoy and you can at least breathe and check it out, you might have a trouble time getting to the next buoy, but at least you know there's a buoy there. So now, Cedric, for example, he's a professional swimmer, so there's no sense of loss of control. Even between buoys, he feels safe. So do I. So does anybody. But with cops, we don't have enough time to make them open water ocean swimmers. But what we can do is provide them 5, 10, 6, 12 buoys in a fight, so that at any point during the fight, they know that there's a buoy right there. They know they can get there. And when they're on the buoy, they can calm down, regain that sense of control, because they're safe. Their firearm remains in their control. They're not getting knocked out. They're neutralizing punch, and they're retaining their weapon. If they do those two things from the bottom of a fight, PFC is reactivated, and suddenly they can think about what the logical next step should be to both protect and save their own lives, but also save the suspect's life. And that's what it boils down to. You need PFC activation. We need islands or buoys of survivability in the chaos of a fight. And we can't make an officer a professional swimmer in 1 week of training, or as Cedric knows, in 4 or 8 hours annually. You simply can't do it. But what you can do is you can teach an officer how to tread water in 4 hours or in 8 hours. We can do that. And every department should be pursuing that, because the ones who aren't are just liabilities waiting to happen.